I had just recently went to go watch this movie. All right. Just went recently to go watch it. So this will be a non-spoiler and spoiler review / discussion. So I'll start early on with non-spoiler, my thoughts, X, Y, and Z. Then we're going to get into the nitty gritty because there's a lot to discuss. There's a lot to discuss. So thank you guys for all being here. We are currently live here on YouTube and Twitch. So pick your poison. I just know that it gets a little bit more friendly and saucier over on the Twitch channel with the Jutsu gang. So if you guys want to join over there, please do. I will be taking you guys' questions later on about, things that you guys may think of or theories, X, Y, and Z. So if you guys don't want me to miss your questions, super chats are active. And I think there's something like that on Twitch as well. Because I'm pretty sure there's going to be a ton of thoughts and theories and maybe potentially disagreements. So definitely interested to hear your guys' thoughts. But without further ado, let's get this started, man, on Deadpool and Wolverine. Now, this is actually the first time Bree's ever seen a Deadpool movie. So it was really interesting going in, and I was really concerned, like, all right, it's the first Deadpool movie in the MCU, obviously, but it's the third Deadpool movie. So I was like, all right, I don't know if she's really going to understand what's going on here, but we'll figure it out. Early on in the movie, essentially you get kind of through the whole thing because Deadpool breaks the fourth wall. He does a lot of narrative work. So it kind of explains what you need to know for people that have never seen a Deadpool movie from Fox. So I think it was actually really clever in how they did explain the movie or the previous movies of kind of what transpired, who Deadpool is. So Brie never felt out of pocket. She never felt like, I don't know what's going on here. I don't know who these people are. So I thought that was actually really, really dope on their part, on the writing tip. I thought that was really clever. The VFX in this movie are fantastic. I was really wondering how far Disney was willing to go. You know what I mean? Like, how far were they willing to go with what people expected of this movie specifically, but also what they've expected from the previous Deadpool movies. So still very gory. And I thought that was awesome. Some really interesting VFX moments that we see later on that we will discuss in the spoiler talk moment. And I gotta say, that paired with the writing and Deadpool's vulgar nature, I felt like Disney knocked it out of the park from that standpoint. I think a lot of us are really concerned of like, okay, the mouse is gonna get attached to this. How is this actually gonna pan out? And I didn't feel like it skipped a beat. I think it was moving in the right direction. And to be fair, this is probably the best new movie that we've had in the MCU. I think just as it's like standalone movie, like we're talking about, like, obviously it's a trilogy. It's a third movie in a trilogy, but it is the first showing in the MCU with Deadpool. So it's technically the first MCU Deadpool movie, but the third Deadpool movie. But I mean, since the Infinity Saga started, this is probably the most enjoyable movie, like entertaining. It's very entertaining. I thought the writing was done really well. I thought it was very clever in how they executed the story, how they injected the kind of, how do I say this without spoiling stuff? How they injected the mutants. Theoretically, that's really what they've done. I just thought it was really interesting on how they did it. Hugh Jackman as Wolverine, just I thought he was in like perfect form, bro. Like considering how old Hugh Jackman is and the fact that he can still get his body prepared is one insane. Like he's insane. I just thought that was fantastic. And then on top of that, Ryan Reynolds just like, again, it's like he didn't skip a beat, bro. Like he was in it from jump, like back in it wasn't like tiptoeing back. It was right into it from the get-go. As far as his quips, his personality, the dirty jokes, the fourth wall breaking, like it just felt so genuinely a Deadpool movie. And it was so funny because Brie was like, I don't think I've ever experienced a comic book movie like this, because she's never seen any Deadpool movies before. So it was really cool for her first time seeing Deadpool, seeing this and being like, one, understanding what was going on, but two, just being really entertained the whole time. Like that's really cool. And to be fair, like this was our first like date outing without our baby, right? So she was already a little bit like focused elsewhere. You know what I'm saying? Like, I hope the baby's okay. Like, so when we get into the movie and for her to just be focused in on the movie speaks a lot to how entertaining, and how much of a good time she was actually having. And for me, there were so many Easter eggs in this movie, and I know we're gonna probably miss some. That's probably why I wanted to go live and do this discussion, because I feel like a lot of you guys are going to bring some of those things back up in my memory. But there were so many references to not only other properties, but real life stuff that I was like, this is crazy. And just the attention to detail with those things, and we'll talk about that, was actually so high. Yeah, I just thought it was super clever. And the use of the multiverse in this, ironically, was probably the best use of it so far. And we'll get into why in the spoiler discussion, but I think like how they utilize the multiverse in this was great. Yeah, I mean, the music choices were fantastic. Specifically around some of the things that happened with Wolverine and Deadpool, I thought was genius, was absolutely genius. And Brie was dying laughing because she's a huge Hugh Jackman fan, a massive Hugh Jackman fan. Not from like obviously Wolverine, but more so from like his theater stuff and his like musicals and things like that, and his other non-action movie roles. Obviously Hugh Jackman's Australian, so he's like a national treasure here. So yeah, so it was just really dope. It was really dope for her, like in some of the references that were made in the movie that she immediately knew because of who Hugh is. It was actually really, really dope. So I thought that was really cool as well. The villain, what was her name? Professor X's twin sister, how they integrated her. Awesome. I thought she was a really cool character, extremely OP. Like immediately when you see her, you obviously see how ridiculous her power is. And it kind of set like this, how do you beat her? Right. And because it was one of the things too, because it's like Deadpool and Wolverine, it's always like, how do you kill them? Right. So it was equally interesting of having a character that seemed so overpowered, like Cassandra Nova, to be like, okay, like this is actually a really cool opposite. You know what I'm saying? Because you have two essentially immortal-esque characters. Yes, Logan has died in the Logan movie, which is the world that Deadpool is from. Very cool. But it was just one of those things where you're like, okay, who's going to fight them? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, they can just keep going. And you kind of see that at their first interaction in the movie when they're fighting. And some of that is shown in the trailer. And I was like, that's actually really clever. Now, the trailers that I did see for the Deadpool movie really show, like, first act stuff. It didn't, again, I haven't seen the later trailers, but it seemed like they were really focused on, like, all right, let's focus on first act only. So the second and third act can just be surprise on surprise on surprise. And that's what it felt like. It felt like I went to the movie and the first 20, 30 minutes, I felt like I saw some of this in the trailer. And then outside of that, it was like all new stuff. And I thought that was so much fun, like to not really know where the story was going, who was going to be in the movie. It was just so good. It was an actual really fun time. And again, the stuff that they pulled off in this movie, it was actually really dope. Things that fans have been asking for years. Even some fan stuff that people were like, oh my God, like if you're a Wolverine fan, there's some really, really sick stuff in there. If you're a Deadpool fan, I wonder how many references, because I wasn't really like a big Deadpool comic guy, so I wasn't really sure how many comic book references that they pulled for the movie. But I know a lot of the references they pulled for Wolverine, and some of the criticisms when Hugh Jackman got casted as Wolverine, they actually addressed in this movie, which is hilarious. But yeah, it was so much fun. And it didn't feel like 2 hours. And at a certain point in the movie, it's actually addressed. And I was like, this is hilarious. Like, there was just some really, really, really funny moments. I didn't feel like the comedy ever got old. Because it's one of the things with a comedic actor like Ryan Reynolds, it's really easy to get to, okay, this feels really repetitive, right? Because you keep kind of doing similar stuff. But I think him and Hugh Jackman just bounced off each other so well that it didn't feel like overwhelming. Because sometimes Ryan Reynolds can just get into a groove and it's like, okay, like, you know what I mean? Like you kind of get a little bit overdosed on him. And I think with this, it felt, at least for me, it felt really balanced because of Hugh's character. So yeah, I just thought it was fantastic, man. I thought it was such a fun time at the movies. I haven't had this fun in a movie theater in a really, really long time. I would probably say fun-wise, it was probably, I think the last movie I had this much fun in a theater with was probably maybe Infinity War or Endgame. Like, just moments of like, whoa. But I think as an entire movie fun, it's probably the funnest movie I've been to in even longer than that. Because it's a different type of movie, right? Like, Infinity War and Endgame had really crazy stakes. There was a lot of dark moments. You know what I'm saying? There was levity, but it was really like a oof. You know what I'm saying? This was just fun. It was just so much fun. I had the best time. And I think too, because it was our first outing without our daughter, it was like, how is this going to go? You know what I'm saying? Like, if this wasn't going to be able to keep our attention, I think both of us would have kind of had more anxiety about leaving her. You know what I'm saying? So for us to really just be dialed in and just be like having the best time, laughing, cracking up. Like, I just thought it was a great, like, I guess, first away from baby date, you know what I'm saying, movie. It was perfect because it just took our minds off of the stress of leaving her, you know what I'm saying? So such a great time. As far as my rating of Deadpool and Wolverine out of 10, for those that have never seen any ratings of mine, I rate them out of 10, 5 being average. I don't do it like a school grade where it's like anything under 60 is a fail. I don't do that. 5 is average. Which means I liked half of what I saw and didn't care for half of what I saw. This movie, I'm probably going to give a 9.5. I thought it was so cleverly written. I loved the digs that they take. Again, we will talk about this in the spoiler section of the movie. I thought Hugh and Ryan were fantastic as opposites. Something that fans have wanted for years, and for it to finally come true and deliver at the level that it has, the box office speaks for itself. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can't generate that much money just off of hype alone. And it's still continuing to freight train. So it's really, really cool to see. Again, VFX were fantastic. The fight sequences were awesome. The music choices, fantastic. I thought it was great. I thought it was a great film. I really did. I think for some, it may be a little overload for some. I can definitely see if people felt like, okay, this was a lot to take in, like a lot of like sensory overload. I can completely understand that. But because my mind moves how this movie moves, like that's how my mind is always going. It's really hard for it to like shut the hell down. So watching this movie felt like I was watching a movie at the pace that my mind was going. So it just felt like I didn't feel like I was waiting for something. It felt like things kept going and my brain was like satiated the whole time. That's what it felt like. So yeah, 9.5 out of 10. Probably one of the highest movies I've rated. I absolutely love this film. This film is so much fun. Let's jump to the chat real quick to see how everybody else felt. What do you guys feel out of 10 this movie was? I would love to know your guys' thought, chat. Out of 10, rate it for yourselves. I would love to see how many people. John D said 8.5 out of 10. Awesome. We got 7.5 out of 10, 7 and 10, 9 out of 10, 9 out of 10, 9 for sure, 9.5 says Cool Breeze, 9.5, 9.8 says Dasher. Let's go. Yeah, it was just one of those things, man. Like I didn't know what to expect because of the conjunction with the MCU. It's just one of those things where it's like you don't know how they're gonna handle it. And man, 9 out of 10, same as you. Somebody said 100% fresh. Somebody gave you a Rotten Tomato score, bro. That's crazy. Legit, just pure fun, man. It was refreshing. I agree, bro. That was the thing too, bro. Like the fact that there was no PC in the movie and it was just like, we are sticking to how we want to write this movie. Everybody gets jokes. Everybody gets the jokes. Nobody's exclusive to the jokes. Everybody gets jokes. I thought it was hilarious. So it was so fun. It was so much fun. I think the fact I didn't know how it was going to be handled made it much better. I agree. That I think was the surprise, right? Because we're like, okay, how are we integrating any of this into 616? Like, how does that even work? And it's so interesting too, because yeah, we'll talk about that in a second. Because I think there's a lot of confusion, and I'm a little confused myself. So, yeah, definitely interesting. But this is where we end the non-spoiler review and we start talking about spoilers. Start talking about the craziness that was going on in this movie. And man, like there's so much in this movie. I'm just like, I know I'm going to leave stuff out. So if you guys remember certain things that I don't, or certain favorite moments for yourself, we're going to talk about all this. So there is Man said, where are Naruto reactions? They are done post baby. We just haven't had a chance to once we get our schedules together with baby and we can get like a better system with her, and her awake times are a little more frequent and she's not crying half the time and trying to have to record and stop and record, we will then get back to Breaking Bad and Naruto. But as for right now, for the foreseeable future, until that happens, they're just going to have to be on hiatus. So, Deadpool and Wolverine. God. Okay, so I think there's definitely a couple of things here that I think we're all going to have to really think about, and I may have to watch the movie again to really understand the what, right? The what behind this whole thing, because it's, from what we gather, all the worlds have some level of Avengers, right? Even Wolverine said, fuck the Avengers, and Deadpool wanted to be in the Avengers, and he tried to go to the Avengers and all, right? So it's really interesting though, just to see what is transpiring and where it is transpiring, because from what we've gathered, there's been conflicting information about what Earth the MCU is actually on. There's been some things that say 616. There's been other things that suggest 199999. And it's very confusing on what Earth is the MCU. And I know people say, oh, well, it's definitely this. Well, it definitely isn't, because there's literally two different things that have explained that we're on two different Earths. So I'm very confused about what Earth we're on. Some people are suggesting that after Thanos came from another universe and came over as a different one. There's so many different variants of what Earth we're on. They obviously show the 616 with Happy when Deadpool goes and talks to him because he wants to be an Avenger. But even that, I said, so technically the MCU is 19999 and 616 only exists in the comics. Right. So it's one of those things where it's like, but then in the comics, I think they reference the MCU as 19999, which is the other thing where I'm like, what is going on? In Spider-Verse, they reference the MCU as 199999. So it's so crazy. The MCU sacred timeline is 616. Right. So it's one of those things where it's like, okay, is 19999 the timeline that we are in, our Earth, not the sacred timeline? That's the question that I have. So it's like, that's the biggest question, right? Because Feige has stated that it's not 616, but then also has stated that it's 616. So it's like, okay, but then you have movies that reference it as 19999, and then you have comics that reference the MCU as 19999. So I'm like, it's so wild. It's so wild on what it is. So yeah, we'll see. Obviously, Fox is 10,005. So that's the Fox universe. Now, it was so dope because we saw that obviously Logan was from his and he was an anchor being. That's interesting. That's interesting information because I'm like, okay, we haven't heard of this before. This is the first time we've heard of the term anchor beings in the MCU. And if that anchor being dies, the universe that they're in also dies. So in my head, I'm like, okay, is an anchor being supposed to be some type of immortal being? Because Logan, if he was just a regular human, it'd be like, all right, well, if this person only lives to 75, that universe is dead. Like, to me, it seems like it has to be a being that is destined to live forever. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's what it seems like. It would be really weird if, like, all of a sudden this potential character pops up, only lives for 70 years, and the universe evaporates. Like, that just seems very weird. It may be a form of a Nexus being, obviously, but we've never heard the term anchor being. So that's the differentiating factor. When it was coming from the TVA, it wasn't coming from like a universe side thing, right? It's from an entity outside of the multiverse. So technically the anchor being term would be like the correct term. So it's really interesting with like, all right, like, what does this mean for the future of the MCU? Who is the anchor being in the 616-1999 world? Who is that being? Does that tie into the future? Like, you introduce it in this movie, but then it's like, is there relevance for the future of the MCU with anchor beings? Like, who is the anchor being of our planet? You know what I'm saying? Very interesting. Just in my head as a thought, I was like, this could be really potentially interesting as we move forward. But in terms of like how they did that, the funny bit at the beginning with him saying, you know, I'm not a doctor, but it seems like you are severely passed away. Like, I thought that was hilarious. I thought that was such a funny moment. And then him proceeding to wreck shop on the TVA, I thought was great. Utilizing his claws, making a makeshift, like, I just thought that was hilarious. It was so funny. Probably one of the dopest title card sequences we've seen in an MCU movie. I thought it was super clever. But then I always love when they kind of nonlinear storytell. So from then saying, how did we get here? Let's dial this back. How do we get to this point? I loved that. So I like that we kind of get a little backtrack, figure out where he was, how his life was, him being just completely like out of it, like didn't know really have a purpose. His girl left him. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's a lot of like, my life was trash. And he didn't know what he wanted to do. And he wanted to find purpose. He wanted something. He wanted to have value to show his girl, right? And it was really interesting for that because of the fact that you have like him having, the TVA trying to obviously grab him. They bring him over, and you have is his name Paradox? What was the name? He's over here trying to okey doke him. Essentially, like, he wants to become the TVA. He's this power hungry guy that is monitoring a particular timeline, which is so interesting, of having like timeline managers. Like, essentially, like, that was so funny. But that whole sequence was funny, right? Like, going through that and then having to say, okay, well, your anchor being died. You have no anchor being. Your Earth is destroyed. I don't want to wait for that time. I'm not here babysitting. Let's just prune this universe and keep it pushing. That's what he wanted to do. So, he built this, what they call them, time rippers or something like that. Well, I don't know what the machine is called. But this starts the hunt for him to try to find a Wolverine to be on his planet. Which is so interesting, because it's like, what it tells you is not all Wolverines are anchor beings. So it's like, okay, well, if you pull one Wolverine from one world to another world, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's the whole thing I had in my head. I'm like, so can you just so if you rip one from one universe to another, does that universe cease to exist? Like, do you just kill a whole universe? So it just seems like in that world, in his world, he was the anchor being of that universe, and it may vary from universe to universe. So when he starts going on his little adventure time to try to find the Wolverines, I thought it was so funny, because we get a very tiny version of Logan, and I thought it was hilarious. And for those that don't know, you may be so young that you just don't understand when this came out. So when X-Men came out, it was like, what, 2000, 2001, 2002? So that time, I remember when that movie came out, a lot of my hardcore movie fans were like, he's too tall. He's not Wolverine. He's too tall. Because at the time, I wasn't really hardcore into reading comics. But my friends that were like, no, this is going to suck. He's too tall. Wolverine's short. Like, really pissed off about it. And then obviously the movie comes out. Everybody loves Hugh Jackman as Wolverine. And he just becomes synonymous as Wolverine, right? In the same way that, RDJ is with Tony Stark. Like, becomes synonymous with the character. So for them to actually poke fun at this, like, not comic book accurate height, and that's the first one I think we see, hilarious. And then you see all these different variants. That one comic book variant that where he fights the Hulk, that was fucking sick. I thought that was so fucking clever on how they did that. And again, it's just one of those things, as a fan of like the cartoons and the comics, you're just like, like, it was like, it did fan service so well in this movie. And I think people are like, oh, it's just a fan service. Yeah, but like, you do it when you've earned the fan service. Like, if this was done in the first movie, I don't think it would have earned the fan service. But you've spent 2 movies prior building the character and who he is and his motivations and X, Y, and Z and his ups and downs, to where you have reached the level to say, okay, let me inject some fan service in here, because I've earned it. You know what I'm saying? Like, you've earned the ability to do it. In the same way, in my opinion, that the fan service in Spider-Man No Way Home did. In my head, I felt that it earned the right to be able to do fan service, because it had 2 phenomenal movies prior. Deadpool is the same way, where it's like you have 2 hits that are critically loved, that are fan loved, and you're coming to a third one. Cool. Like, do you like that? At least that's how I feel about it. Henry Cavill, bro, as Wolverine, I was like, yo, this is sick. I don't know if he was ever like a thought of this. I don't know if it was a fan thing, a fan wish list of him getting cast as Wolverine in the MCU or anything like that. But it was one of those moments, in the same way that what's his name was for what's his name for the Fantastic Four? Brain farting right here. in Doctor Strange, Multiverse of Madness. But same type of situation. Like, I just thought that was so dope. That was hilarious to me. Yeah, like there was just so many awesome moments in that of seeing like the different variants of Wolverine. So, bro, Coupon, she came through. Auntie Coupon was like, hey, let me drop that 20 gifted. Oh my God. She said, I'm back. Hey, this is why I told you guys on YouTube, if you're going to come on Twitch, it gets a little friendly over here. And there you go. So if you guys just got gifted over on the Twitch, make sure you guys sauce up the chat for Coupon. Auntie Coupon in this thing. Let's go. So first of all, that was fire, right? So getting outside of that and finding out that, okay, I have this Wolverine, they get to fight, but now they're in this like void space, right? That was, what do they call it? What do they call it? It's not the world of void, right? Because that's like Dragon Ball. What's that void space called? Chat, let me know. What is it called again? Because my brain is out of it. Is it the void? I want to say it's the void. I could be wrong. It is the void. Okay. It is the void. This got really interesting, right? They drop in. Obviously, you see all these like remnants of different universes. Obviously, yeah, the CN Tower in the back, obviously him being from Canada. You have the 20th Century Fox there. It's a reference there as well. Like, there's just so many little Easter eggs as you drop in. Obviously, these things were shown in the trailer. Super dope. But it's here we start to really see what's going on. The void is where things get really, really fan servicey, but really fun, like really fun. And to me, this is where the movie starts to get into actual gear. That first cameo we see, Chris Evans, we're like, oh shit. He's like, Cap's here. He wants to be an Avenger. So he's like, yo, Cap, let's go. Turns out it's Chris Evans' Human Torch. And I was dying laughing because I myself did not assume that it was going to be Human Torch. I just thought, okay, this is like some, rogue Cap. You know what I'm saying? He's been here. He's a little small. You know what I'm saying? In my head, I'm thinking like, okay, like he's just been here. You know what I'm saying? He got the super serum. He just old in this place. I don't know how long he been here. That's what I was thinking. And then with my man, so we were talking about Chris Evans and Cap. So this part gets so interesting. So seeing that was obviously really dope. But when I remember that came out, bro, I was like, it was a cool movie. Wasn't super fan of Fantastic Four. I think my dad, just because when he grew up, he liked the Fantastic Four comics. So we got to see that in theater. But I thought that was so, oh my God, it was so funny. It was such a funny moment. And then him seeing Cap be like vulgar, even though it wasn't Cap, but it was just like, yo, this is wild. It was just a funny scenario. You know what I'm saying? Like, I thought it was hilarious. So it was done so well. But then we get to Cassandra Nova's hideout, right? Well, no, before that, all these former X-Men characters show up like Mad Max Fury Road style. So much fun. And then on top of that, you had like Sabretooth there. And that moment was fire, right? He was like, this is the moment everybody wanted to see. Like, and it was just so funny, right? Like, because Deadpool was like watching things that we all wanted to see happen. You know what I'm saying? I thought it was hilarious. That was so much fun. Like, my dude got dropped immediately, bro. Like, yo, that's crazy. That was funny. Obviously seeing Toad there and some of the other characters. But it really started to get crazy when we were on our way, right? On our way to Cassandra Nova's hideout. Obviously, he had the little banter with Johnny Storm. But it really came to when they got there and you finally got to see who Cassandra Nova actually is. And how Deadpool set Johnny up was OD. That was OD. By the way, guys, we are 3 followers away from 2,000 followers on Twitch. If you guys want to jump over and make that happen, I would appreciate that. Yes. So Cassandra Nova pops out, bro. And this was probably one of the coldest things I think I've seen in a comic book movie. Like, I swear to God, it was crazy. Like, I was not prepared for that. I thought, okay, she might, I don't know, launch him in the air, or, you know what I'm saying? Like, do something different. Not suck the skin off. Like your whole body got sucked off, bro. I never seen anything like that, bro. I was like, this is OD, bro. Crazy. My dude just juiced after that. Like, crazy. Absolutely crazy. So I was like, all right, this is interesting. So you have that moment that I was like, okay, she's a problem. How do you fight that? You know what I'm saying? Like, and like seeing that kind of take place early on was so dope, because it was like, all right, well, we're going to try it. And boy, did y'all get bodied, like instant body, no restraint. And it was dope because it's like, all right, what would happen if you had a person like Charles Xavier with no restraint? What happens? What happens at that point? You know what I'm saying? A no restraint. Holy shit. You know what I'm saying? That's going to be a problem. So, oh my God, it was such a crazy moment. The fact Cassandra has to literally touch your brain, it was crazy. Oh my God. Auntie Coupon at it again with 10 more. Hey, yo, if y'all just got gifted again, shots out, sauces up for Coupon. Auntie Coupon in here doing it. Oh my God. Hey, she said, I'm done. Hey, I told y'all, I told y'all, YouTube, like, y'all playing around. Y'all playing around. You know what I'm saying? I'm just saying. Y'all had an opportunity to come over here and get some goodies. But that was crazy. Obviously, they get out of their, by the skin of their teeth, get launched over. But then, like, you have, like, the nice pool situation. That was funny. Come to find, like, I thought that was hilarious. That ugly dog runs up. Funny. Yeah, that was hilarious. Oh, a dude is here? What? A dude? What? Tristan521 with the follow. All we need is 2 more. All we need is 2 more. All we need is 2 more. And we're at 2,000. Yeah, dog pool was so funny. I think it's a very ugly dog, but it was hilarious. What up, freezing in this thing, boy? We need 1 more. Who is going to be the 2,000th follower on the Twitch channel? Who is going to be number 2,000? Who is it? Who's going to be number 2,000 on the Twitch? Oh, the Blackbeard in this thing. Let's go. The Blackbeard in this thing with the number 2,000 in this thing. Boy, that's fire. Appreciate you guys, bro. Fire. All right. But honestly, though, like, that whole sequence from Nice Pool to the Honda Odyssey to the fight sequence in the Honda Odyssey. The fight sequence in the Honda Odyssey, guys, is so sick. Like, I don't think y'all understand how deep this is. Not only was the fight sequence dope, but the fact that my man was talking about Hugh Jackman specifically on, like, he gonna sing your ass to death type shit, like, and then proceeds to play, like, the Greatest Showman music. Like, it was so, there were so many levels deep in that, was hilarious. And it was all musical music. You You know what I'm saying? Like something that you would be doing. Like it was genius. It was genius, guys. It was so much fun there. Like I was like, this is hilarious. The high tech Deadpool is Deadpool's daughter. I'll wait till I get to, I don't even know what you're talking about. So we end up getting that awesome sequence. I thought it was fantastic. And then obviously someone drives them away, right? They're both incapacitated. That was super bloody, went nowhere. They can't kill each other. Like, I just thought it was hilarious. He just straps him up in seatbelts. Like, I thought it was so funny. But then you get some of the craziest reveals, right? So as soon as Jennifer Garner walks in, I was like, oh my God, this is Elektra. It's the first thing I said. Brie was like, who? I was like, I can't explain it to you right now. So Elektra walks in, right? Crazy. Blade walks in. I was like, no way. Like, this is crazy, bro. I have goosebumps, bro. Blade 1 and 2 are still some of the sickest comic book movies you'll ever see. Like, as a movie, as a quality motion picture, sick. It's like Blade 1 and 2, Spider-Man 2, X2. Like, there's certain movies that are like, these are fantastic films, not just like recent comic book movie CG fest type. You know what I'm saying? Like, just good story, good acting, good writing. Like, just, you know what I'm saying? Bro, I thought I was hyped, bro. I was like, what? I mean, obviously he's a little small now. You know what I'm saying? He's a little older. You know what I'm saying? He a little weathered. You know what I'm saying? A little patinaed. You know, but I thought it was awesome. The music was so sick. Oh. So that was fire. Obviously we had, was it X-23, the girl from Logan? That was sick. The funniest thing though, bro, Channing Tatum as Gambit was the most dope and hilarious thing I think I've ever seen in a comic book film. Because it was like, I remember when he got cast as Gambit, I was like, oh shit, Tatum is Gambit? I was like, this is going to be interesting. And the movie never came. And I was like, and the fact that they play into that in this was hilarious. Like, was so funny. Matter of fact, I got to go back because they play, the fact that Ryan Reynolds got the go-ahead to talk shit about how terrible the multiverse stuff has been. And, you know what I'm saying? Like Disney, y'all, you know what I'm saying? Like, and then when he gets Logan, like, look, you're going to be part of the MCU. Like, yeah, you're at its lowest point. Like, that was so funny, bro. Like, it was so dope that Disney had the awareness to say, you know what? Put it in. You know what I'm saying? Put it in the movie. Because what it does, it gives the audience a little bit more of trust in you because you're acknowledging the fact that this hasn't been our best effort. You know what I'm saying? Like, and he points it out in the movie. Fantastic. Multiple times. Yeah, this multiverse thing, yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like, I just thought it was so much fun. But when we get back to Channing Tatum situation, obviously this was pre-Fox getting bought out. I was like, okay, I was actually really excited because Channing Tatum had grown so much as an actor. So I'm like, okay, this could be really dope. And in this, it was just really dope because they played on the fact of like, you know, all the other characters have had their, you know, shine and, you know, they came here to die. And he was like, I was born here. I felt like I was born here. Like, bro, you were born in the void. Like, that was so funny. The fact that he was, and it seemed like because of the fact he hadn't done the role, it almost played into the fact that he was overly doing the voice because he hadn't done the role. Like, you know what I'm saying? Usually when you're in the role like that, you would get a vocal coach, get the voice down that you want to get, perfect it, act it, right? But it seemed like because that never happened, he was like parroting what he thinks it should sound like. So while it had like this Louisiana, like Southern voice, it was like a parody of it. It was like a little bit too much sauce on it, right? So I thought it was hilarious to me. I thought it was so much fun because of that. I said exactly. A lot of people didn't understand he was overdoing it. Yeah, that was the point. The point was him overselling it because he never got the role. You know what I'm saying? Like, I just thought it was funny. I thought it was so clever. Yeah, I was, and then he's like, dude, like, who's your vocal coach? Like, who's your dialect coach? I was dying. He's like, the Minions? I was like, oh my God. Oh, it was so funny. Yeah, that was such a funny moment. But like seeing how his powers look though was actually really cool. Because we've never seen a live action Gambit. So being able to get that just even for the comedic sake was still cool. And like having like this comic book accurate costume, it was like borderline cosplay, but still like pretty good on the movie costume side. Timeout. I gotta go back. When Deadpool got his MCU costume change, I thought that was fucking genius. Because everybody in the film space, even like Ismahawk, we talked about costuming, right? Costuming is so important. The textures of the fabric, the type of fabric, how light reflects off said fabric. Is it layered? Is it, you know what I'm saying? Like there's certain things there. So for him to say, hey, hold on. I'm an MCU. Hey, I need that tailor though. I need that costume designer treatment right now. I thought that was so clever because it is a different thing. They spend so much money and they're so good at costume design at Marvel. You know, they're so good at it. So I just thought that was fire. The only thing that I wish that it would have done on Wolverine stuff is getting a little bit better of a muscle suit under his actual suit. I thought the muscle suit wasn't defined enough. But I digress. But yeah, really, really dope. So yeah, we don't talk about X-Men Origins. Hey, yo, chill. So, but in that moment though, when they're all standing in there and Blade, he says a couple of things when he references, what's his name? He was talking about Blade. He's like, oh yeah, and Blade. And he said, I never liked you, right? I never liked you. He's talking about Ryan Reynolds from the Blade movie because he hated him in that movie. So I thought it was so much fun that they pulled that in there. That was so hilarious to me. But then Wesley Snipes says at one point, he's like, I'm the only blood there's ever gonna be. Again, another nod to the fact that Mahershala Ali has been cast as Blade for like 4 years, and we still have not seen him at all because the movie keeps getting rewritten. Different directors, they keep changing it, and it's like, bro, are they ever gonna come out with this movie? Again, the fact that Disney is letting this ride. Sometimes you got to take the L's. Sometimes you got to take the L's, acknowledge the L's, and that's what they're doing, and I can appreciate that. I can appreciate it. Because if they didn't, it's like, you know what I'm saying? My trust for Disney has gone up because of this film. Not because the film was so good. It was because of the fact that they allowed the film to take shots at them. It's that part. You know what I'm saying? It's like, okay, we got to acknowledge the elephant in the room here. We have to do this. So funny. Gundam said, well, nobody liked Blade 3. It was so bad. So I don't think Ryan took it personally that Wesley was a dick. I mean, regardless of the fact, I just thought it was so funny that they did it in this film. Like, to be able to put it in there is hilarious. And then we start getting into that fight sequence after that, where they had to plan the whole thing with Cassandra Nova and versus their squad. And some really cool action sequences we got to see essentially some of these characters go out with like a cool final hurrah. Like, let's be honest, that Elektra movie was dog water. So, you know what I'm saying? Having her have some really cool moments in this film, dope. Blade Trinity wasn't it. It wasn't it. Nope, it wasn't it. You know what I'm saying? So having him have some like kind of like resolution here of like fire. You know what I'm saying? I get to be saucy. Lion said Jennifer's still bad though. X-23 as a grown, like it was so dope to see that. I was like, okay, this is fire. Having a really cool moment, her being able to kind of return the favor, so to speak. That was really cool. Cassandra Nova is a problem, bro. It's just a problem character. Like, wild. Obviously, they end up getting back. She had said that she killed a magician. She killed Doctor Strange in the Void. Like, I just want you guys to understand, like, how wild that sounds. Like, some of these X-Men are so powerful that they make some of the characters that we've already seen and that are OP in the universe that we've seen, and they just one-shot them. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, just think of it for a second. Like, just think of it for a second, right? How wild that would be. Like, how wild that is. Like, seeing, like, her just wipe Johnny Storm like that. Whatever she did to Doctor Strange, right? Crazy. But when they finally get back to the world and, like, they're trying to figure out what to do with this machine. Obviously, Cassandra's like, no, I want this machine, bro. We had a deal. Now I'm taking everything. And now it becomes a whole other problem, right? You have all these other Deadpool come in. Nicepool comes back. We find out that my man can't regenerate. That whole sequence was comedy. What a dope fun sequence through the streets, though, with the other Deadpool fighting them through the bus. The whole, like, freeze frame situation, and then he falls out the butt. Like, just the attention to detail of moments of you expect, and then it breaks your expectation. This movie does it so many times, and it does it so well. Yeah, I thought that was so funny. Paradox was funny. Paradox was hilarious because he was just the liar. You know what I'm saying? Like, he was just trying to lie his way out of everything, bro. Like, this dude is so, he was hilariously annoying. You know what I'm saying? So people are actually saying that was a She-Hulk reference, that the mediocre magician was Johnny Blaze. I honestly, I don't know because I didn't watch She-Hulk. I tried to watch the first episode and I was like, hard pass. But yeah, again, just very interesting though. But the that final sequence though of like them trying to figure out like how they're gonna stop this machine, and then they link together. I knew that was gonna be the case. Because they were like, you know, any single person is gonna vaporize. I'm like, okay, so it's gonna be two people. I knew that was gonna play out as I heard him say that. I was like, all right, this is how it's gonna work out. I thought that was really funny. Again, the Madonna song, hilarious. What a great song to put into this film. Not only is it a good song, but the comedic factor, you know, juxtaposed to like what the scene is, I thought it was so much fun. I'm trying to think what other after that, because after that, I was essentially the end of the movie. I mean, the fact that they addressed Wolverine as an Omega level threat was interesting. Or are you talking about Cassandra Nova being an Omega level threat? That's what I want to know. Were they addressing Wolverine as the Omega level threat, or are they addressing Cassandra Nova as the Omega level threat? I'm assuming it was Cassandra Nova, but I didn't know that Wolverine was. Yeah, I didn't, because like Wolverine, they were talking about Wolverine, I thought it was Nova. Because in my head, I'm like, I don't think Wolverine's an Omega level threat, right? Because she said that Deadpool brought an Omega level into this universe. Right, and that's what I mean though. Like, I don't know if she's talking the fact that he brought Cassandra over. Because technically she followed them in, but it was because of the whole assassination attempt. I don't know. I don't know if Wolverine is. I don't know if I would consider Wolverine an Omega level threat. But the fact that this is the first time we've heard in an MCU film Omega level, really cool. Yeah, this is going to be interesting because they're currently not in 616 or 19999, whatever Earth that is, whatever Earth that we're on. The TVA came to Deadpool's universe because that's the universe they were at, right? So now I'm like, all right, where does this go? Right? Because they're talking about the universe, the multiverse. Wolverine is on their Earth now. So that Earth doesn't go anywhere. Okay. But then we're talking about the awareness from the TVA. He's aware of the TVA. He's been to other universes. How do we get the X-Men into the prime timeline? Like, how does the prime timeline happen? Is there a massive convergence? And if so, how does that work? Is that where Secret Wars comes in? Is that Doomsday? Does Doomsday have anything to do with, like, I wonder if Doomsday is like, what if Doctor Doom is from another planet, right? This Victor Von Doom is from another universe and is taking out an Omega level, or the anchor being of this universe. Something I can think of is like, okay, who's the anchor being of this universe? You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm trying to think of, like, how does things converge to this world? Because they're essentially going to need to clear up this multiverse situation and get to one prime timeline to get out of the whole multiverse thing, is what I'm again, there's no like official on this. I'm just thinking in my head of, like, what this actually could mean, and it seems like that's what it could mean. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know how they're gonna do this. I do think bringing RDJ as Victor Von Doom is the smartest thing for them to do, pivoting last minute the way that they are. And I know some people are like, oh, but it's 4 years away. It's not last minute. It is last minute. Thanos got put in, like, in 2012 at the end of Avengers. We saw him in 2019? 7 years that he's been in post-credit scenes, been spoken about within the MCU over, 7-8 films. Whereas now you're talking about an Avengers movie that's coming out in 3 years, 4 years. And people don't know, like, outside of the comic book fandom, casuals that just watch the MCU don't know who Victor Von Doom is. They don't know who Doctor Doom is. They don't at all, right? So the fact that they have to now establish a character that, one, has no post-credit scene, hasn't been talked about at all in any of these movies in the Multiverse Saga, is now going to be the big bad of the first Avengers movie. And it's probably going to be a big role in Avengers Secret Wars as well. You have to find a way to get the audiences aware of this character and why it's important. So for them to bring RDJ back and put him in this role immediately gets people that have been fans of the MCU to be like, hold on, Tony Stark's back, but as a villain? What's going on? Like, it creates curiosity. Right? So now people are going to be like, okay, I think I need to start watching these films to figure out what's going on. Why is Tony Stark until they understand that it's not Tony Stark. It's just Robert Downey Jr. playing another character. But why? You know what I'm saying? There's still a why. The ambiguity's still high. So it's going to create intrigue. It's going to create somebody to be like, I need to go see this because I need to figure out what's going on. I think it was so smart because for them to pivot like that and put a new actor in, it would not hit the same. It would not hit the same for regular, casual MCU fans. And the reason why I say casual MCU fans, most MCU fans, the majority, have never read a comic book. Sorry. Have never read a comic book. So you can't assume that they know who Victor Von Doom is. I can guarantee you 99% of them probably don't. Probably never heard of this character before. You know what I'm saying? So outside of that, you have to put somebody in the role for them to be like, who the fuck is this? So for them to put Robert Downey Jr. in is going to cause so much. It's going to cause so much commotion as it has, so much intrigue as it has, so much questions as it has, so much criticism as it has. But what does it do? It creates actionable events to happen. People are going to want to see what the hell this means. You know what I'm saying? So I think it was so smart for them to do. Now it really comes down to the writing. You know what I'm saying? It comes down to the writing, man. But my biggest thing is like, what's going to be that plot? Because this to me showed that, okay, there's a way to figure out what's going on with this MCU thing, with the multiverse stuff. There's something there. We saw it in this movie. That there's ways to do it that they can right the ship, right? They can right the ship. This movie has given me more confidence that I think that they can right the ship. I used to say, but man, the Russos have so much work to do. They have a lot of work to do. But from what I've gathered, though, this is a project that they've actually wanted to do. They just didn't know if they were going to be the ones to do it. Because again, remember, Kang Dynasty was the original movie. It had nothing to do with Doctor Doom. So they wanted to do something with Doctor Doom. He wasn't supposed to be in this movie. So now it's like, all right, well, this changes a lot. So I'm very excited to see. I think Deadpool and Wolverine is him coming in saying I'm Marvel Jesus. I know that was a funny bit, but for real, I think he has reinvigorated confidence in Marvel. And I think a lot of it is because they were allowed to take the risks that they were able to take in this movie. Everybody said it. Hey man, I don't know what Disney's going to do to Deadpool. Everybody had some kind of reservation about it. Everybody. No, there's not one person that can be like, oh no, I knew that they were going to do exactly what they want. I guarantee you nobody was thinking that when Fox got bought by Disney and they said Deadpool is coming and you're like, okay, what kind of Deadpool are we actually going to get? You know what I'm saying? So I don't know, bro. I think there's a lot that I think we should still be, concerned about. But I think this is definitely moving in the direction that, for me anyways, I think my confidence in the MCU and in Disney's ability to right the ship has gone through the roof. Again, I think being able to acknowledge that this has not been our best work. This has not gone the way we wanted it to go. In a movie, making fun of it is hilarious. I think it takes courage to do because you're essentially downplaying your own brand. You know what I'm saying? So I think it's really smart that they were able to do that. And hopefully fans get reinvigorated to want to see what the future holds now. How do you introduce the X-Men? Mutants. Because it's the first time we've seen this before. So yeah, very, very cool. But yeah, let me know your guys' thoughts, man. In the comics, how y'all feeling about it? I am so excited about the future of the MCU right now because of this film. But yeah, so pander, get known commodities, and get back to what fans seem to love. I mean, it's one of those things where it's like, at a certain point, you have to know when something isn't working. You know what I'm saying? And then I think with the whole Jonathan Major situation, it was like the straw that broke the camel's back. People weren't really sure about Kang. He lost to Ant-Man. You're like, what? Like, there was just so many things where like, okay, I don't think this is going to be the right villain for this, right? And then the whole situation went down with him. So I was like, all right, we got to pull this and figure something out because people aren't showing up. The movies haven't been performing that well. Because remember, guys, there was a streak that Marvel movies were like $1 billion pop. Movie come out, billion. Movie come out, $1 billion. Movie come out, $1 billion. Like, it was just dropping billions. And now, yeah, it's not the case. It's not the case. And their TV shows have not been good. Which is really strange because it started out strong with WandaVision and then just slowly started to do this. And then it just fell off a cliff. And like, I think Mr. Marvel, I saw like the first 3 episodes. I was liking it. I just stopped watching it, but I was liking where it was going. But then when the Marvels came out, I was like, yeah, cool. Like, it was cool. It was cool. You know, like Loki season 2, I liked better than season 1. Season 1 of Loki, I thought was a good first couple episodes, and it just got really, got really, but yeah, the Marvels was terrible. Says Alicia. Look, I'll be trying to find the positives in some of these things because I understand that as a movie maker, you're trying to go in to make the best movie possible. Nobody's going and putting a team together and spending hundreds of thousands of dollars, hundreds of millions of dollars to be like, let's make a trash film. Like, nobody's trying to do that. Sometimes you just miss the mark. And a lot of times it's because of people that are writing the films aren't fan of the films or the properties, or really want to take that thing, or in Marvel's case is they're biting off way more than they can chew. They're producing too many pieces of content at once, and it just got so diluted in quality that which is why they've paused so much stuff. So many things have paused because I think Fantastic Four was supposed to come out this November. If my memory is correct, I think it was supposed to come out like November 4th or something like that this year. And I don't even know when Fantastic Four comes out, actually. Let's see, when does Fantastic Four come out? July 2025 now. So they've moved it like 10 months. You know what I'm saying? So for you to get pushed that far back tells you that, okay, we need to adjust some stuff, which is great though. Like, again, I'm so good. I said if take your time, make the movie good, make it good. But man, let me know your guys' thoughts in the comments. If you guys are catching this after the fact, if you guys were here live, thank you guys so much for all the talk, the love, your guys' thoughts on the film. We will be back tomorrow for more anime reactions. I know things dropped today, but I just don't have that kind of time because I'm nursing a sick mom and a sick baby, and I'm still a little under weather myself. So thank you guys so much for all the support. Thank you so much to Coupon for all the gifted subs today. Appreciate you. If you guys got gifteds, man, make sure you guys show that love. And everybody that is here for Deadpool and Wolverine, let me know in the comments if you guys catch us on the VOD on YouTube what your favorite part was, your thoughts, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Bye.